Okay, today, guys, we're going to work on taking percents and turning them into either a fraction or a decimal. Okay, so we know that percentages. When we talk about percentages, everything is out of 100. Okay, so when we're talking about a percentage of something, it's talking about something that is out of 100. Okay, so if we're going to make this into a fraction, we're going to start by just writing it as 19 over 100. Right? We'll take this number, we'll get rid of the percent sign, we'll put it over 100. All right, so 19 over 100 is 19%, just written as a fraction. So we're going to do that with all of these, right? So we'll put 8 over 100, which makes this a fraction. But this one's a little different, right? Because 8 over 100 and 19 over 100 are different because 8 over 100 can be reduced. The greatest common factor, I believe, between 8 and 100 is 4. So if we divide these both by 4, right, if we reduce this fraction, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 100 divided by 4 is 25, right? So 25 over, 2 over 25 is 8% written as a fraction. Okay, so this one already has a decimal. Okay, this one already has a decimal, but we're still going to write it over 100. So I'm going to put 68.73. I'm going to write it over 100. I think that is already simplified, right? We got 0.73 here, so this is written as a fraction. Okay, so the second thing we're going to do is we're going to write 19, okay, 19%, 8%, and 68.73%. We're going to write all of them instead of as fractions now. We're going to write them as a decimal, okay, as a decimal. So there's two ways to do this, right? There's two ways to do this. The first way is to use a calculator and literally click divide, okay? So if you took 19 divided by 100 and you just type that into your calculator, it would give you a decimal answer. The same thing if you took 2 divided by 25, it would give you a decimal answer. And the last thing is if you took 68.73 and click divide 100, it would give you the decimal answer of 68.73%. All right, so the question then is, because that's an easy part, if you have a calculator, the question is, what if I make you do it without a calculator? Okay, how do we take a percent into a decimal without a calculator? All right, so right now, right, all of these actually have decimals. Okay, they actually have decimals. This one is clear, it's right here, but this one is like 8.0. Right, I'm going to throw a little zero in. 8.0%, right? That was a terrible zero, but I'll move my percentages back. 8.0% is the same as 8%, just like 19.0% is going to be the same as 19%. Okay, so each of these actually have a decimal, even if it's not showing, right? So when we take something from a decimal, from a percent into a decimal, the easy way to do it without a calculator, right, is to just move the decimal 2 spots, right? Move the decimal 2 spots because we're dividing by 100 and there's 2 zeros here. So if we move the decimal 2 spots to the left and we put it here, that will give us our new decimal answer, okay? And remember, when we take it from percent to decimal, we drop the percent sign, okay? All right, so let's look at 19. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to move it twice to the left, right? So 1, 2, and it's going to go right here. So I'll write my new answer as 0, right, in front, 0, 0.19, and that is 19% written as a decimal, okay? So this last one, okay, this last one's a little tricky because 8 is under the number 10. And if you notice, we can only move it one time and we're out of numbers. All right, so if we have a number that's less than 10, all right, we'll just put another 0 in front. And now we'll move it a second time, right? We're moving twice to the left. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. We'll put our 0 there. And now we have 0, 8. And that is 8% as a decimal, 0.08. Right? So from percent into a decimal, we move the decimal point twice. We move it to the left. All right, so I want to look at two other problems that are just like this, but I've written them a little differently. All right. Okay. So the first one I want to try together here is, what do we do when we have a mixed number of a percent? Right? We have a mixed number that's a percent. Okay, mixed number. And then what if we have one that's over 100%? Right, over 100%. So we got two things to do here. Okay, so the first job is we're going to turn these into a fraction, right? And we've already said that when we do that, we have to put it over 100. Remember, percents are out of 100. So if I was going to make this into a fraction, I would write 114.2 over 100. All right, 114.2 over 100. Now this one, you see how 0.2, right? 0.2 is an even number, right? I think that this can be divided by 2, I believe. So there's a greatest common factor between 114.2 and 100, and let me check what that is. All right, so I'm going to say 114.2. It looks like we can reduce this to, if we divide both these by 2, we can say 57.1 over 50. All right, so I'm okay with you leaving your answer like this because it's a decimal. If you wanted to reduce it, you could do that, okay? Now, that's the fraction version. If we look at 52 2/3 over here, though, the problem is it's a mixed number, okay? So if we see a mixed number, let's turn it into, right? Let's turn it into an improper fraction first, right? We need to say 52 times 3, right? Because that's how we, and that gives me 156, okay? And then I say plus 2, and that gives me 158. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this as 158 over 3, right? Because it's over 3 still, percent, right? Yuck. So this is still a percent, right? Even though it's a fraction, it's written as a percent right now, right? We have to be able to put it over 100, right? We have to be able to put it over 100. All right, so if I put this fraction over 100, does everyone see how we have a fraction inside a fraction, right? How do we divide fractions, right? I think the first step that we talked about a couple weeks ago was to write it horizontally, right? We said 158 over 3 divided by, remember this, this fraction bar is division, right? This is division, so I'm going to put a division bar in there, and I'm going to put 100 over 1. Okay, so we're almost there, right? We've got dividing fractions. We've been using a mnemonic, okay? A mnemonic device here. Here it's going crazy. A mnemonic device to help us divide fractions, and that mnemonic is keep, change, and flip. So the keep, the 158 stays over 3. The change is talking about the division sign. The division sign is going to become multiplication. And then the flip means we're going to flip the 100 over 1. It's going to flip to 1 over 100. Okay, let's times across. 158 times 1 is 158. And 3 times 100 is 300. I believe that 158 can be divided by 2, right, which gives me 79, and 300 divided by 2, right? 158 divided by 2 is 79. 300 divided by 2 is 150. And I think that is reduced. Okay, so that was a gross problem, right? 52 2/3% written as a fraction is 79 over 50. All right, so the second part then, right? The second part is we need to write these as decimals, right? We got to write them as decimals. So if you took 57.1 divided by 50, it would give you a decimal answer. And if you took 79 divided by 150, it would give you a decimal answer. However, if you don't have a calculator, we need to know how to do this by hand, okay? So this problem, right? This problem is really hard because the decimal, okay? The decimal is really a fraction, right? So 52 and 2 over 3, okay? 52 and 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. Okay, so these are the same thing. 52 and 2/3 is 52.6 repeating. That's what that line means. And now we have a decimal, so we can move it twice to the left. Right? Let's move it twice to the left. 1, 2. And so this answer is going to be 0. The point goes here. 526. Okay. So it looks like, and I'm going to put my repeating sign over the 6, telling us that the 6 goes on indefinitely. All right, so 52 and 2/3 percent is 0.526 repeating. Okay, 526 repeating. This problem is going to be a little easier. We move our decimal twice to the left. 1, 2, and this becomes, look, 1.142. All right, so 114.2% is 1.142 as a decimal. Okay, so every problem we've done has been 0 and then some numbers, with the exception of this problem. This problem is 1 point something. Okay, so anytime we have a fraction, right, or sorry, anytime we have a percent that is over 100, our decimal should be over 1, right? Because 1.00, right, is equal to 100%, right? Because if we move the decimal back, it would be 100. Okay, so 1.00 is 100%. So if we have a percent that's larger than 100, our decimal better be larger than 1. And if we have a percent that is less than 100, then our answer as a decimal should be less than 1. All right, so I have a couple of problems I'd like you to try and bring with you to our next class period. All right, let me see. I had a black marker. I don't know what I did with it. It's in my pocket. All right. All right, so I want you to try 3 problems for me. Problem A is 7.2%. B is going to be 61 3/5%. Okay, it's a mixed number, a little trickier. And part C is going to be 102%. 102%. You have two jobs. Write as both, right? You should be writing them as both things. Decimal and fraction. Remember, your answers, when we write them as a decimal and a fraction, you should no longer have a percent sign. Okay, those disappear when we change them. If you have any questions, please email me, let me know. Bring these with you to class next time.